Welcome to the Anxiety Coaches Podcast, a relaxing and informative show where we explore anxiety, panic, and PTSD, sharing how you can overcome them for life.
Aloha! Welcome back to the Anxiety Coaches Podcast. I'm your host and coach, Gina Ryan, and I am so happy to be with you again today as together we can consider the many ways to bring your mind and body back to its natural peace and calm. In today's episode, I'm talking about getting to the place where you have less anxiety from having more structure. And recently, I dropped an episode, I think it was episode 847, Coping with Anxiety and Cleaning. And so I got an email from Leo Babauta with one of his posts, and it was kind of along the lines of having a place for everything, or everything that is important to you should be in a special place. I can't remember the exact title of it. And so what I did was it made me remember the question and answer that I had from the listener, and wanted today to piggyback on that episode. Again, that's 847, Coping with Anxiety and Cleaning. It was maybe the other side of things, because I didn't know from the listener whether he was concerned about things not being clean enough, maybe things were too messy, or if he was having difficulty with too much cleaning. You know, we can go to both ends of the extremes here as human beings, can't we? So anyway, today I really wanted to share with you some of the ideas that Leo had presented in his post, because I truly believe that you can experience less anxiety. This was true in my life when you have more structure. Now, I know some people with anxiety have too much structure. Like I just said, as humans, we can go to either extreme, but this is for those of you who have difficulty and feel like you have chaos in your life or clutter in your life, and that it is hindering you. So, you know, we can feel sometimes like our lives as a whole are messy, or they're cluttered, they're overwhelming, and it can lead us to feeling scattered, right? This was very true for me. That's why this post really hit home for me. And Leo said, it's like a house filled with clutter. Our lives can feel like a huge mess. So I'm picturing a hoarded house, right? Somebody who just keeps bringing things in, but they don't process anything. They don't have awareness of what is there. They don't digest what they have brought in or process it. And so it's just there. It's a huge mess. They just keep bringing more and more things in. So Leo shared an idea for getting things in order. So he says, just as I recommend for decluttering your house, create a place for everything that matters to you. Now, I loved this because to me, this is the gift of more structure. Creating a place for everything that matters to you. Because when something matters to us, we take care of it. And when we take care of something, it doesn't hurt us, right? Because we have had a relationship with it. Yes, we have relationships with things in our house. We have relationships with our thoughts in our head. And all of this clutter matter can also go to how much we have up in our mind. But we won't go so deep into that today. Today, I want to talk more about the actual physical environmental structures that can help you to not feel that feeling of chaos and clutter, or what he said here, you're feeling like your life is a huge mess. So again, this is important to me to share this gift of more structure. It was very helpful to me because anxiety grows exponentially in chaos and clutter. It really does. It's almost like a breeding ground. So finding just the right amount of structure. Again, I know some people have too much structure, perhaps with OCD, you could go there, but some people have not enough structure. Things are too lax. So with just the right amount of structure to keep the chaos and clutter to a dull roar, because nothing's perfect. I want you to remember that. We're not looking for perfection. We're just looking to get the house, your environment, your computer, your phone, where everything that's important to you, get it out of the feeling of clutter, of chaos. And it doesn't have to be perfect, but it can be so darn helpful. So I hope you'll stay with me for this. But now, a word from our sponsor, BetterHelp. A lot of times I hear from people that you are struggling with a problem that you have to solve, a challenge that you have in your life, and you are in problem-solving mode. And it can be hard for you to train your brain to not spin out with your anxiety, or if you are depressed, to go into that depression when you are struggling with this challenge. You know, a therapist can help you become a better problem solver, making it easier for you to accomplish your goals, no matter how big or small. What I found in therapy is that it can help you be less stressed, more confident, because you have somewhere to unload your stress. And it can really be helpful to you with your anxiety and your depression. And like I said earlier, with that problem-solving mode that you have to be in from time to time. If you haven't given therapy a try and are thinking about it, BetterHelp is a great option for you. It's so easy to use. It's accessible to everyone. It's affordable, and it's all online. You get matched with a therapist after filling out the brief survey, and you can switch therapists at any time if you need to. When you want to be a better problem solver, therapy can get you there. Visit BetterHelp.com/ACP today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp.com/ACP. So in our actual physical houses, we can get cluttered. We can get, messy. Things happen like that here and there. And we can just get in the habit of dropping things, putting things wherever. Like you walk in the door, everybody's probably got a counter or a table in their home where you walk in the door and things happen to just randomly land there. So when we declutter, it's not just about getting rid of the things that we don't want. Like if we were to declutter that walked in the house table that is there and we just dropped things on it. When we declutter that, we don't want to just get rid of the things. We want to be really aware of what this thing is and find a home for it. Everything that we have dropped could have a home. It could be, as Leo says, a place for everything. So once we have found a place for all these little things that happen to come into the house with us, then we can train ourselves. And man, this is so helpful with the anxiety piece, because the more we can train our mind, the more we can be the boss of the mind, right? The rider of the horse, and train that horse to go where we want it to. The easier it is to do that when something big comes up. So if we can train ourselves with small things like putting things into their special little place, we are telling ourselves we're in control. The mind isn't just being lazy and wanting to drop it. We're saying, no, we put things away. We put things back where they belong. And this helps us not only keep the house decluttered, but it helps our mind to understand that we are in control. And when things are in their own homes, their own little place, or as Leo puts it, a place for everything, things can feel much calmer in your house. And it's not about being perfect again. This doesn't mean your house doesn't have things out of place. We all do that. But you can find that you have one time during the day where you just kind of breeze through and put everything back where it belongs. And eventually you end up liking the way that feels in your environment so much that you just begin to automatically do it because it feels so much better to have it in its own little place. It's about knowing where they go. Again, this is training the mind. Where does being aware of what we brought in? What is this? What purpose does it serve? And where am I going to put it? And then we can begin to relax in that structure. Because once we have structure, we can stop having to problem solve about it, to think about it, to look at the messy table and feel aggravated about it, right? So what if we could apply the same idea from this messy catch-all table to everything else in our lives? Leo says, if something is worth being in our lives, doesn't it deserve to have a place? And I think that's a great way to look at it. It actually helps us even before we bring things into the house. You might be admiring something at a gift store or a flea market or something, admiring it and you really like it and you think it's cool colors. But when you begin to really pay attention to what we are doing with the things we bring in, you realize there's no place for this in my house. Maybe I can just admire it here and I can leave it here. I don't need to take it home with me. So these tips that I'm going to go over with you that Leo has, they really reduce the brain from having to hit the distress button when it looks at that catch-all table or it looks at your computer homepage or your inbox, let's say, for your email. These ideas of having more structure help you to not have to hit the distress button all day. All day we look at something with our eyes and it irritates us and we hit the distress button. And the less we play with this distress button, which is calling in our survival mode, like something's wrong. Maybe it's a small thing, but you start building those up like straws on the camel's back, you're going to tip over into anxiety. It's going to tip over from distress to stress to anxiety. And so the less we can play with that distress button, the less anxious we will feel. So here are a few ideas that Leo Babauta had in his post, which I will have a link to his site in the show notes for you. So as an example, he has the tasks. Your tasks can go in one place, such as using a task manager app or a list that you keep in one place. Instead of keeping them in various messages and inbox, put everything in one list. Yay, this is such a great idea. And I have been guilty of having distress over having too many loose sticky notes. I have all kinds of different ways that I write things down and put them aside. And I use Keep on my phone because I can use it on my phone or on my computer. And that has served me very, very well. For instance, when I'm out shopping, I don't have to feel distress over bringing the note or did I have that on the computer? No, it shows up both places. So that list is always at my fingertips. Next, he has, if you have recurring tasks or events to remember, you could put them in one place. Again, a calendar or a reminder list or a task list if it features recurring tasks. But choose one instead of using all of these and forgetting where your recurring task might be. This is great. Again, we're decluttering because we're going to only do this in one place. He goes into finances here too. He says, doing your finances can become a mess if you don't have structure. So we can create a daily habit like checking your accounts or budget program, and a weekly review to pay bills and take care of other tasks. Let me jump right in here because this was so helpful to me many, many years ago. It was long before we had phones and apps and stuff, but I made what I called a little tickler system where in my calendar I knew exactly what day I had to pay bills, what day. It was twice a month. And so I never had to think about it again. It didn't have to be heavy on my back. I knew because after I did them on that one day, that little tickler went into the next day that they were going to be needed to be paid. I didn't have to think about it. I want to get your mind decluttered because a cluttered mind is carrying a heavy load. It can feel uncomfortable, which for some people, discomfort signals to their amygdala that there is danger. There isn't danger, but if we play with this fire long enough, we will get burned. He talks about your browser tabs too. He says, do you have 1,000 browser tabs open? What if the task that each tab represented all had a place? Like a list of things to read and watch, a list of ideas to consider for the future, a list of websites you're using to research a project, and of course, your task list if the tabs represent tasks that you need to do. And this is awesome because I don't know about you, but I know my computer feels a little heavy when it's got all those browser tabs open, but so do I. When I look at it, it feels like, do I really have all these things to do, or are these things that I just forgot to close down, make a note of, put on a task list, whatever? It just feels better to have it more clean and clear. I have a structure. I don't have to wonder why all those are open. He also says if you have 1,000 messages in 10 different messaging apps, you might create daily rituals for checking and replying to messages instead of doing it randomly. This is a great tip because as much as many of us would like to have less messaging apps that we have to reply to, we don't. We kind of have to go with the organizations that we are in and the way that they are communicating with us. So I have this. I have many messaging places that I need to reply to on a daily basis, and I do have a ritual for it, and it keeps me structured and less anxious. So you might find other places where life feels messy or cluttered or downright chaotic, right? And find a place to add some structure. Have a home for everything. You may even want to research the best way to do an email, cleaning out your email or inbox zero or whatever would work for you. Again, this is very individual, but if you pay some attention to it, everything that comes up on your computer, that comes into your house, can all be given a home. They can rest, and your mind can finally rest, not having to wonder, what am I supposed to do with that? And have regular times in the day where you check your lists. You don't have to check them all day long. If you go to your email and you have it in a structure where you do it very beginning of the morning, maybe before lunch, and then again in the afternoon, that can be your rhythm. You don't have to be having that email gremlin on your shoulder going, go check me, go check me, go check me. You don't have to. You can get to that at your assigned times, and you get to relax in that. I want you to all take a nice breath with me and a nice, long, slow exhale, and just take that more calm, slow energy into your life and see if a little bit more structure can help you have less anxiety. Thank you, Leo, for that great post. It was a real helpful one for me, and I hope it was for everyone listening. That's it for today's episode. And before I read today's quote, I want to put out a personal invitation to those of you who would like to take your healing and your clearing of your anxiety panic to another level. If you are not someone who wants to join a group coaching program, you may be interested in joining in with me on coaching one-on-one. You can learn more about that at the website, anxietycoachespodcast.com, and go to the one-on-one coaching page. Feel free to send me an email, anxietycoachespodcast@gmail.com, with coaching in the subject, and I'll be sure to get back with you, and we'll take it from there. No need to have this drag on forever. And now for today's quote. The objective of cleaning is not just to clean, but to feel happiness living within that environment. And that's from Marie Kondo. I'll be back in a few more days with another podcast. Until then, be well and aloha.
Thanks so much for joining us for today's episode of the Anxiety Coaches Podcast. Find more information at theanxietycoachespodcast.com.